Nice to see you back, guys. Once again I am back with a new class, and today in this class we are going to learn motion path animation. This is the example of motion path animation using SVG graphic, and here you can notice the dot moved to the predefined path. It is the first example of motion path animation with SVG. Let me show you another example. This is the second example of motion path animation, but here we do not use any SVG property. It is made by pure CSS, and just we need to use the predefined path, and we need to use the CSS keyframe and the animation property. Here you can notice an aeroplane follow the predefined path, but you cannot see the path. But in our previous example, you can see the path. And remember, instead of aeroplane, you can use anything here. It could be a ship, it could be a ball, it could be a sun, whatever. As you can see, here we replace the aeroplane with the cruise ship. So you can use anything. In this class, I am going to show you total two methods to create this kind of animation. First one with SVG graphic and the second one with pure CSS. In our first three videos, I am going to show you how we can draw the path using SVG property. How we can create the curve, how we can create the arcs, how we can draw the points at different position. We are going to talk about all. Next, we are going to learn how we can draw a path using Adobe Illustrator application and export the path coordinates. And then we are going to create the animation and a project. So if you want to skip the first three videos where I talk about path element, you can skip it. If you already have a knowledge about path element, you can skip those videos. So let's get started. But before we start our coding, let me introduce you something. This project is part of this course, CSS and Web Animation. If you want to learn CSS, SVG, JavaScript and GSAP animation in a single course, then this course is for you. These courses come with 24 hours on-demand video, 194 downloadable resources and lifetime access. It is the new, fresh and organized course on Udemy about CSS animation. This course will come with 14 different sections. Here we are going to learn transition-based animation projects, CSS keyframe-based animation projects, JavaScript DOM-based animation projects, SVG animation projects, GSAP animation projects. Also, we are going to learn all the basic about it. It is the most complete course about CSS animation, and till today it's come with more than 60 plus projects. If you are interested to learn, I will provide the link at my description. So let's get started. Hello guys, good to see you back. Once again I am back with a new tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to find the best way to create a path. We are looking for the simplest way to draw a path. For that we don't need to remember any points, any arc command, any curves. Just we are going to draw the path which we need. For that, here I open an application, and our application name is Adobe Illustrator. It is a vector graphic application. Now, I am going to create a new file, and here I am going to create file for web, so I am going to take this resolution 1920 by 180. Otherwise, you can take any resolution, it's up to you. But for this example, I am going to select this one. After that, I am going to create the page. So this is our view box dimension 1920 by 1080. And now I am going to draw a simple path. So for now I am going to turn off the fill color and I turn on the stroke color. If you want to change this stroke color, then you need to select the stroke color, and from here you can select any stroke color. For this example, I am going to go with the default color, which is black. Then I am going to use pen tool. This one is pen tool, and I am going to draw a path. Also I am going to draw some curves. And here I am going to draw a very complex path, which is not easy to draw with SVG code. So this is our starting point. From that point, I am going to add some curves. Here we create multiple curves, and it is not easy to draw. And this is the path I am going to use for this example. And now I am going to save this file as SVG image. For that, we need to jump into the file section. Then we need to select save as, and I want to save this file as SVG image. and also I'm going to select the artboard. Then I'm going to select my current working directory. In this directory, I'm going to save this file, and our file name is path_1. Then I'm going to click save button. Now you can see some options. Now you can see some advanced option in your Illustrator application. You can set this SVG file as style attributes, also style elements. I would like to go with style elements. You can save it style attribute also. Then you need to click OK. After hit OK, it's going to save this file in the current working directory. Now let's back to the current working directory. Now you can see I am in my current working directory, and here we have a SVG file named path_1. If I open this file in my browser, if I double click it, as you can see, this is the path we draw in our Illustrator application. And as you can see, its file extension is SVG. It's an SVG image. And now I'm going to open this file in a code editor. In our case, I'm going to open it in Sublime Code Editor. Now let me show you the most important thing. At first, you need to notice the viewbox dimension. Our viewbox dimension is 1920 by 1080. Then you need to notice the path tag, the most important tag. Here it assign a class, and we style this class inside this style tag. But this is not we need for our project. We need the D attribute value, this one. It is the most important part of this tutorial. You can notice the starting point using M tag. You can notice the cubic Bezier curves. Everything is included in this D attribute, and we already learned about the coordinates in our previous tutorials. If you have the D attributes value, then you can draw the exact same path in any other project. So from this SVG image, just want to extract this D attribute value. So in this tutorial, I just tried to show you how we can draw complex path using Adobe Illustrator software and save it in a SVG file. And after save it in a SVG file, from this file we can extract the D attribute value that we can use this same path in any other project. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to apply the same path in another project. So thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for the next tutorial. Good to see you back, guys. This is our first project related motion path animation. In this project, we are going to learn how we can create motion path with the help of pure SVG. We are not going to use any CSS keyframe, any CSS animation property for that. We are going to done it with animate motion tag and the path tag. So let me show you the demonstration. So this is the example of this animation, what we are going to build in this project. Here you can see a SVG path, and also you can see a red dot. And the red dot moves in this predefined path. So this is what we are going to build today in this project. So without wasting your time, let's back to the Visual Studio Code. So finally, I am in my Visual Studio Code editor. So at first, inside the body tag, I'm going to take the SVG tag, SVG. Then inside this SVG tag, here I'm going to assign width, and width equal to, I'm going to pass 1920, and height equal to, here inside the double quotes I'm going to pass 1080, full HD dimension. Then we need to define the viewbox. So now type viewbox attribute, viewbox equal to, inside the double quotes, first we need to define the starting position. I'm going to pass from x-axis and y-axis 0 and 0, and then we need to define the dimension of this viewbox, which is 1920 by 1080. Exact the height and width of this SVG tag. Next, inside the SVG tag, we need to create the path that is used for tracking. So I'm going to type the single line comment, define the path. And here I am going to use path tag. Path. First, I'm going to assign an ID to this path tag. I'm going to type ID equal to my path. Then we need to define the D attribute. Which D attribute? That's going to define the path coordinates, such as starting point, curve, arc, etc. If you remember, in our previous tutorial, we draw a path using Adobe Illustrator and save this file in a SVG image. And from this SVG image, as I told you, we need to extract the D attribute value. So I'm going to copy the exact D attribute value from this image. Copy. And then back to the Visual Studio Code. Then inside this part tag, I'm going to paste the exact attribute and the value. After that, I'm going to define the stroke color. So I'm going to type stroke. Stroke equal to, I'm going to assign black. Also, we need to make the fill transparent. So I'm going to type fill equal to, inside the double quotes, transparent. And I'm going to save this file. Now, after save this file, if I open this code in our browser, as you can see here, I open this file in our browser and you can see the path, the exact path we draw in our Adobe Illustrator. It is happened because of this D attribute value. And now we need to draw the object that going to animate through this line. For that, I'm going to use a circle. But first, I'm going to type a single line comment, object to animate. And here I'm going to draw a circle. So I'm going to type circle. Then inside this circle tag, first I'm going to define the radius using R command. R radius equal to, inside the double quotes, I'm going to type 10 here. Then I'm going to fill this circle. I want to fill this circle with red color. Red. Now after save this file, if I back to my browser, here you can see this circle, the half circle, because its center position is 0 by 0 pixel. That's why you can see that portion of this circle. And now we need to animate this circle from this position to this position along with this path. For that, we need to use a attribute inside this circle, which is animate motion. So let's back to the Visual Studio Code. And inside this circle, I'm going to use an attribute called animate motion. Animate motion. Animate motion, at first we need to provide the animation duration. For that, I'm going to type DUR attribute. Duration equal to, I'm going to use 5 seconds. Within 5 seconds, it's going to complete the animation. Then we need to provide the repeat count. And I want to repeat this animation again in infinite time. So I'm going to type repeat count equal to, inside the double quotes, here I'm going to pass the value indefinite. So I'm going to type indefinite, indefinite. So it's going to run the animation again and again. Then after that, we need to define the path. We need to define the motion path, in which motion path it's going to run this animation. For that, inside animate motion, we need to define path. And here we need to assign the same path. To assign this, we need to use its ID, my path. As you can see, here we assign the ID. So I copy my path and here we need to use href attribute. href, inside the double quotes, we need to use the hashtag sign because here we use, because it's ID, then I'm going to paste the ID name and I'm going to save this file. After save this file, if I back to my browser, you can see the result. Within 5 seconds, it complete the animation and it run the animation along the path. And if you want to increase the speed of this animation, you can decrease the animation duration. Let me show you. If I decrease the animation duration within 2 seconds, then save this file, now you can notice it's going to increase the animation speed. At the same way, if you want to decrease the animation speed, you need to increase the animation duration value, in our case 10 seconds. After save this file, if I back to my browser, you can see the result. Now within 10 seconds, it's going to complete the animation. It complete the path. So that's the one way that you can create the path tracking animation with SVG. And there is another way that you can conduct path tracking animation. In our next tutorial, we are going to learn about it. So once again, I'm back with another example of motion path animation, but this time I'm going to use pure CSS animation, pure CSS animation property and the keyframes. And we are not going to use animate motion from the SVG tag for that. So let me show you the demonstration what we are going to build today in this project. So as you can see in this example, an aeroplane fly over the predefined path. Here we use the same path that we use in our previous project. But the benefit is here we don't need to show the actual path in our project because it's made with CSS. Just we need to use the SVG path coordinate for that. And the main benefit of using CSS is you can replace the aeroplane with anything. It could be a sun, it could be a ball, it could be a ship, anything. Let me show you. Now as you can see, instead of using aeroplane, here we replace the aeroplane with a ship. And the ship follow the predefined path. So let's start the practical and see how we can create this motion path animation. So finally we are in my Visual Studio Code editor. At first inside the body tag here I am going to create a div tag. div div dot and I'm going to assign a class to this div tag which is moving. Div dot moving. Then I am going to take a style tag inside the head tag. So here I am type style. Inside this style tag at first I am going to style the body tag. So I am type body. Then inside the curly braces, I am going to assign background. Background, here I want to assign background hashtag 222, dark gray background. And I am going to save this file. After save this file, I am going to open this file in my browser. Now, my browser is empty. Now, let's back to the code. After that, I am going to style this div element using its class name moving. So, here I am going to type dot moving. Then inside the curly braces, first I am going to define width and height. Basically, we are going to move this element along this path. So, here I am going to define width 20 pixel. Then I am going to define height also 20 pixel. It's a square box. Then I want to assign background color. Background I want to use red color, pure red. After that, I'm going to define the position. And I want to make it absolute. Now we are going to move this element along the path. So we need to define the offset path. So I'm going to type offset path. This one. And here I'm going to type path. Then inside the round braces, inside the double quotes, here we want to pass the value. Now the question is which value? Exact the same path value that we use in our previous tutorial. So I'm copying the exact same value from starting point to end point. Then I am going to paste this value inside this path and I'm going to save this file. After that, we need to create the animation keyframe. To create the animation keyframe, I'm going to type @keyframes, and our animation name is move. Then inside the curly braces, at 0% of time, inside the curly braces, I'm going to set offset distance, I'm going to make it 0%. And then I duplicate this section, then add 100% of duration. At 100% of duration, I want to make offset distance 100%. That's it. And I'm going to set this file. And now I'm going to apply this animation. For that, I'm going to type animation tag. Animation, here inside it, I'm going to pass the animation name move. Then I'm going to set the animation duration. I'm going to set it 5 seconds. Then animation direction linear. And animation iteration count, I want to run this animation for infinite time, so I'm going to set infinite. And I'm going to save this file. After set this file, if I back to my browser, you can see the result. Now you cannot see the path, but you can notice the object moving along the path. It follow the path and complete the animation, and it's going to run the animation for infinite time. So this is how we can create motion path animation with CSS. And if you want to increase and decrease the speed, you can change the duration. If you increase the duration, if I make it 10 seconds and then set this file, now you can see it decreases the speed of this animation. Now the most important thing is, if you use CSS animation properties, you can replace this object with anything. I want to say any PNG background. It could be a ship, it could be an aeroplane, it could be a basketball, anything. Let me show you how. Now, as you can see in my current working directory, we have total two images, aeroplane.png and cruise.png. It's an image of aeroplane and it's an image of cruise ship. Now, I'm going to replace the square box, I want to say the red square box, with these images. For that, I'm going to comment out this line and I'm going to use property called background. Background, and this time I'm going to use URL. Background URL, and here inside this single quotes I'm going to pass the image name, which is cruise.png. With that, I'm going to increase the height and width little bit, otherwise it's barely visible. So I'm going to make it 40 by 40. Also I'm going to use another property, background size, and I'm going to make it cover, because our image resolution is much more higher than our width and height. It's 500 by 500 pixel. So after save this file, if I back to my browser, you can see the result. Here you can see the result. This time it replaced the red square box with this cruise ship. If I increase the size little bit more, let me show you. If I make it 100 by 100, 100 by 100, and then set this file, now the ship is visible. And as you can see, the ship is moving along the predefined path. At the same way, you can replace the ship with the aeroplane. Let me show you how. So instead of cruiseship.png, here I'm going to use aeroplane.png. Then I'm going to save this file, and this time I'm going to reduce the width and height. I'm going to make it 50 by 50 pixel. And I'm going to save this file. After save this file, if I back to my browser, you can see the result. So I hope now it's clear for you how we can create motion path animation with SVG graphic and with pure CSS. But in every animation, we need to define the motion path. So thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for the next tutorial.